The restaurants you love, the food you crave, and the people that make it all happen. We tell their stories on the Paper Trails podcast with Albemarle Paper Supply.
What's going on, guys? How are you? And welcome back to the Paper Trails podcast, season 2, episode 17. I'm your host, Nick Caligaris-Mitros, and I'm super pumped to have Lindsay Anvik. Anvik?
Thank you. Yep.
Lindsay Anvik with Babe and Butcher here in Charlotte, North Carolina. As you can tell, right, we are super pumped to have her on the show to talk about her business, her background, how charcuterie boards have evolved over the years, and if you guys have not checked them out, you gotta follow them. Check out, they have absolutely phenomenal work. They just came into a new retail location, Camp North End. It's what would you call Camp North End? It's
a collaborative, retail, food, art space.
Venue,
basically.
yeah.
Venue, basically, that, houses a bunch of different pockets of creativity across a bunch of different,
super
industries.
nice. I mean, I'm sure, it's my first time here actually, but I'm sure that weekends you guys are just, everybody's down here. Young, sharp professionals are here. I mean, there's food restaurants.
Yep, live music, all kinds of events.
Yeah, so check them out. But Lindsay, super pumped to have you. Thanks for hopping on the show and the podcast.
Thank you.
Why don't we talk a little bit about, pre-Babe and Butcher.
Okay.
Where are you from? Give us a little context. One of the things that I really enjoy doing, Lindsay, is people probably know you, follow you guys, have probably ordered from you, or have seen your work. But I love telling the backstory. Like how did you get here? How did this idea, how did this concept come together? We spoke a little off camera about just how you were just doing it for friends, and then they were like, hey, you're actually pretty good at this, and so I love the backstory because it gives us context of behind the restaurant, behind the business, how does things evolve?
Right.
How do things actually become a company where you can do something full time? Because our audience is entrepreneurs, business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe some intrapreneurs where they're working within an organization and they want to help the entrepreneur, the number one, build their company, and thus they grow within the organization.
Right.
And so anyway, super pumped to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And let's talk a little bit about, how did everything progress to here? So where are you from? You from this area or
Got it. No, I mean, I was born in Colorado, but I lived mostly on the East Coast, right outside the city. After college, I moved to New York City for 15 years. That's where I started my career, which had nothing to do with food.
Okay.
My first job was working with Shady Records, so Eminem and 50 Cent.
Wow.
And so I worked with them for a few years.
Is that what you studied?
No.
Okay.
And so I was with them kind of at the height of the Shady LP, so it was sort of the peak of their careers. So it was a really great learning experience because we were all kind of thrown into this craziness. So I learned a lot about marketing and promotion and events, things like that through them.
Okay. Then
I moved on to work for a movie producer and then a digital distributor.
This is all in New York?
All in New York, yep.
Okay.
What they did was sold independent films to big movie studios. So we were doing deals for Little Miss Sunshine, Napoleon Dynamite, movies like that where it would be independently made and then sold. So from there I learned about negotiations, learned about contracts, learned about also promotion of something that's kind of obscure and unknown and how to take something that no one really cares about and make it interesting.
Okay.
Then I evolved into kind of the digital world and online, worked at a startup for a little while, and then started my own marketing company.
And when did you start your own marketing company? What year is that?
That was about 10 years ago.
Okay. So 2011, 10,
Yeah.
11?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So
Yeah.
how did that transition happen from working for somebody else? Did you know you wanted to start your own business? Was that kind of in the back of your mind? What led to even thinking or starting your own business?
Well, I'm from a sort of background of serial entrepreneurs. My dad was, my mom was. They all worked in corporate America and then transitioned out. So it made sense that I would follow suit.
Okay.
And I worked for a great PR agency and marketing agency, and I loved it, but wanted to do my own thing. I found a lot of value in helping businesses on a one-to-one level.
Yeah.
And I was in a cubicle, and although I was making great money, and the office was gray and the floor was gray, and I felt like I was in a machine, and I kind of wanted to break out. So I did.
Which I think is what a lot of people feel sometimes when they're in corporate.
Yeah.
I just recently talked to, I graduated high school in 04, college in 08, so 35. And so a lot of my friends now that I'm talking to from high school that, I went traditional business route at 21, 22, started the paper company. So I've had that for 12, 13 years, but a lot of them didn't, and they are corporate, and now they're like, man, like, I'm kind of topped out, like I'm not super happy, like I'd love to do something else, and they're looking at a lot of different things.
Right.
So that's so interesting. What do you see that happening a lot? I mean, I guess I've never worked in corporate, so I don't know, but does that happen a lot?
I think it does, and I think that's why there's been some evolution in culture in companies, because people want more work-life balance, or they want to have the ability to create new things or do something outside of their normal 9 to 5. And I think companies have realized that they're going to lose people if they don't have better vacation time, have more opportunities for creation and innovation within their company, or else people are going to get bored or feel stuck and want to leave and do their own thing.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So what did you learn from your parents owning businesses? Anything that stand out to you as like a kid or a child, like seeing your parents have a business, work ethic, dedication, research? I don't know, anything that stands out to you? I'm just curious now.
Both of them incredibly hard workers, so that's been instilled with me for a long time. As soon as I could work, I was working and liked it. And I always found they did something a little outside of the box. My mom was with a real estate agent company for a long time, then broke out and did her own real estate agency. But her twist on her business was that most people were having to pay 4% to a real estate company of their sale. And she said, well, I'll only take 2%. Well, at her former job, she was only getting 1.5%. So she's actually going to be making more than she was before, but the value was for her and the customer. The customer has to pay 2% less. They get to keep that, but she gets to keep 0.5% more per sale. So they did things like that, which was like, how can we be different? How can we change what's happening that everyone expects and do something out of the box?
I love that. Yeah, my parents, or my dad started restaurants. My mom helped out, and work ethic for sure I got from them as well. I mean, it was, now the restaurants are only open dinner. We still operate 3 of them.
Yeah, what kind of food?
Seafood.
Like okay.
Calabash style seafood.
Yeah.
But in the 80s and 90s, it was lunch and dinner. And so I remember and then even as a kid, high school, I mean, every Friday and Saturday, I think I literally, Lindsay, probably have seen 3 football games in my high school. In the 4 years I was in high school,
wow.
It was just because every Friday we worked.
Right,
That's the restaurant.
Yeah, of course.
And I remember because all my friends were there, and I remember having clothes with me. This is 2004, so I remember having cargo khakis or shorts and my Abercrombie and Fitch t-shirt, and I'd have it in my car, spray some Axe, and then I'd go to the game because I wanted to catch the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And so, but I mean, listen, those lessons are just irreplaceable. So,
yeah.
Okay, so you started your own company.
Yep.
How did that go? What was the first year like? Was it hard? Was it simple? Give us a little context, because there may be people that want to start a landscape company,
right.
or a catering company,
right,
or
right.
a roofing company, or they're in construction and they're like, dang, you know what? I'd love to, because, and then here's the other flip side of it. Having a business is more than just the job.
Right. Yeah.
You could be a good roofer.
Right.
But not own an actual successful roofing company.
Right.
Or you can make a nice pie.
Yes.
But so there is other things to think about if you are thinking about doing your own thing, and because the one thing sometimes that that breaks my heart is seeing somebody save up $94,000 and then start a business and not do due diligence or research or just really have proper context. And in 18 months, it's gone.
Right.
It's just, I'm just so what did you learn first year, first 5, having your own company versus working for somebody.
Right.
Give us some insight there.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people that want to start their own business have that talent, or that passion for whatever it is they're doing.
Okay.
But the other business skills, if they don't have some of those things, they need to outsource them.
Yes.
So, me accounting numbers, like dealing with invoice, I hated that part of it. So as soon as I could afford to, I gave it away because I knew that I would either give all my services away for free or I wouldn't charge the right amount. I wouldn't, and I was good at what I was doing, but I wasn't good at that part of it. And so over time, I've learned to have some appreciation for it. I know it a lot better than I did then.
Yeah.
But I think that's a critical point. So if you aren't good at marketing, find someone who can help you at marketing.
That's good.
And then you can focus on roofing and they can focus on promoting your roofing business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that is critical to know what your weaknesses are. So the first year, I didn't realize that I knew I had to get myself out there. So I decided to try a speaking gig, and they didn't want to hire me because, it's New York and I'm nobody. And
Okay, so you're still in New York.
still in New York, yep. No one knows who I am, of course, and they were like, well, why should we hire you? And, people are paying to come, and what if they have a bad experience? And I said, well, if I get anything less than 5-star reviews, I will pay for everyone's ticket. So you will make up that money. And
so you bet on yourself.
I bet on myself. I put it all out there, and I was like, but it made me be like, this has to be the best thing I've ever done, right?
I love that.
So I was scary, obviously, because after I got off the phone, I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's promising a lot for someone who'd never done a speaking engagement, someone who's super shy in person. Like, I am the one at a cocktail party that's in the corner. Like, I am not the life of the party. So that was a lot. But I knew I had to give it my all, and it went great. And then they hired me back 2 or 3 times a year for the entire time that I had my business.
Nice.
And then it just grew from there, more speaking engagements, which led to more consulting, and it all kind of fed into one another.
Okay, here's a question. So you said you had never done a speaking engagement.
Right.
Before that very first one.
Right.
Did you think, and I have a kind of thought where I want to take this, but did you think you were ready, like before you made that first call, or you were just like, you know what, I have to do something. Like I have to just.
You had to do something, because I'd quit my job. I had savings, but there's only so much savings
100%,
that you have,
yeah.
I'd spent money on a website, I'd spent money on a bunch of other things to brand myself. Well, now I needed to make money.
Yeah.
And so I knew I just had to do it. You got to start.
I just did a little short clip that we put out on our social media about just analysis paralysis. A lot of times I think people just analyze something so much that they're literally just paralyzed in fear. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not saying don't do due diligence. I'm not saying be irresponsible. But at some point, you have to just start.
Right.
Make a cold call.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. Try. Fail. Ask.
Of course.
You have to
Yeah.
Because you're never going to be 100% ready or comfortable, or it doesn't work.
For sure.
So
I think that people, if you're going to be good at business, you have to be a decision maker. And sometimes you make the wrong decision, but at least you made it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because if you, like you said, if you wait too long, you miss the opportunity to make money. You may miss the boat to have made the right decision. You have to just do it and then learn from it in hindsight, which I think happens all the time with all of us.
Yeah, I think I remember reading in a book. I don't remember what book it was, but it said that leaders are just decision makers, and it said make a decision and then make that decision right for you.
Right.
Even if it's wrong, it's just make it and make it right for you. It's okay.
Yeah.
It is. At least you made it.
Of course. Yeah.
And so that's. I think that's something that I continue to learn.
Yes.
It's just something that
sure.
you know what, I'm hesitating. What if, do we bring this person on? Do we need another person? Payroll's gonna be a little high. How's that gonna affect cash flow? It's just make the decision.
Right.
Yes or no. Just decide, because that mental anguish, that ping pong in your mind is probably just weighing more than if you just said yes or no.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
You're delaying either success or, failure, and then the ability to fix the failure.
Yep. Which failure is not the opposite of success.
Right.
Quitting is the opposite of success.
Right.
You will fail.
Yes.
You will mess up.
Royally.
You will waste money. We did it. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
don't be scared of it.
Don't be scared of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I feel like sometimes whenever and maybe it's ingrained in us, Lindsay, like whenever we get a test back from a teacher and there's like red on it, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Learn what mistakes did you make, let's fix it and learn from it. And so I think there's this like, I don't know, negative connotation to like, you can't make a mistake. No, it's okay.
Oh, you're gonna make them.
As long as you learn from that.
Right, it's inevitable. And I think those are the opportunities, the best things that have happened for my business are for me to have made the mistakes, because then I've put systems and procedures in place that have prevented that mistake in the future, that have changed the way that I do something so we don't make that mistake, in a different way. And as long as you're going back and learning, and then I think also the next step is implementing things to think about doing it better.
Yeah.
That's also critical, because if you learn from it but then you don't change anything, it'll just happen again and again. Yeah. There's no way to grow without that. I mean, I think that's part of the growing pains. There's never been a time in the business where we haven't been growing, where there hasn't been all kinds of mistakes, learning. I mean, it's
growing pains.
Yeah, it's growing pains. It is, yeah. But it's a good thing because it helps you be better as a company. So I try not to focus too much when we mess up. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, what do we learn? How do we make it better? Let's move on, because
anything that you learn from the 10 years of owning your own marketing firm, like that you made a mistake that can translate into anybody else's, like is there anything that comes to mind that maybe you're like, what, that wasn't good, but we adjusted, and anything that comes to mind, or no?
I never charged enough.
Okay.
And I think
which it's a very good point. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we undervalue what we can bring to the table, and it's like, well, I don't know. No, listen, if you bring enough value, if you're good enough, people will pay. Yeah.
True? And it may be a numbers game, because you may have connected with someone who doesn't have the funds to pay you.
Yeah.
Because they'll say that you're not expensive, so they either don't see your value or they can't afford you. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to really think about what your value is and not undervalue yourself. I think also learning about contract negotiations and what those things mean, that was a very good lesson for me.
Unpack that. What do you mean?
So all kinds of things. I had a contract. In the beginning, I never made it where if they didn't pay, there wasn't some kind of issue. You know what I mean? Like a penalty. It would accrue 5%. So that was something that I learned.
Okay.
Also putting in things like that, if I did a good job, I wanted them to give me 3 recommendations or references to somebody else where I could get another job. So like small things like that over time, where my initial contract was less than it probably should have been asking for, and didn't have some of these things in place to either help me get ahead or help me help me get paid. That helped me.
I like that. Okay, so 10 years.
10 years.
Of a marketing company.
Yep.
Any reflecting back, as far as like good, bad, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it? I mean, I don't know anything. Any reflecting on that business or that model, or anything that you learned there that maybe helped with Babe and Butcher?
I think that I was too many things. You know what I mean? I was speaking, and I think I was doing that more and more towards the end. But I was helping people in all different kinds of industries with all different kinds of problems. And although I was able to help them, it was hard for people to understand what my lane was.
Gotcha.
And so I think people often, they'll start a business and they'll be a marketing company, but they won't have a focus, because they'll be like, well, I'll take any business I can get. But the problem is then when, if you do a paper products company and then a catering company, well, then how does someone, why would I want to hire you if I own this kind of company? You know what I mean? I want someone that has a lot of experience with food, or a lot of experience with paper products, or whatever it is. So I think staying in your own lane and focusing on what you're doing and being really good at whatever that is important, because I think that I spread myself too thin in an effort to try to get as much business as possible.
Sure.
And I think I could have gotten more business if I had focused more on a certain type of industry or a certain type of clientele. So looking back, I think I would change that.
Which that takes a lot of discipline. Like it's hard to say no.
Of course.
Like if somebody comes to you and it's like, hey, I want to pay you. Okay, you know what I mean? It's just so, because we're so, I don't even, maybe it's ingrained in us to say yes.
Yeah.
That you want to help, or you want to take all. I think that's hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, even with our distribution paper company. I mean, we did a little bit of, and we still do a little bit of food, like Splenda and just little, portioning packs, but we had seasonings for a little while, and we got in a little more than that. And so the sales guy was thinking like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then my cousin was like, man, we're not moving these items. We're moving these items. I got to place another order with the manufacturer. So now we got to bring more of everything.
Right.
But these items, crushed red pepper wasn't moving.
Right.
Or whatever, white pepper. And it's just, my cousin was like, listen, man, we need the space. We can't do this anymore. I'm cutting it out.
Yep.
And I was like, no. Like my initial reaction was,
it hurts.
no, yeah. But then I was like, you know what? Yeah, we're a paper company, man. Like, I need to know everything about this business. Bags to, what am I doing? I'm not a broadliner. I'm not like, why, So at first I was not for getting rid of the seasoning, but then the more I was like, you know what? We probably need to stay away from that.
Yeah.
And we cut it out, and it's been a lot better.
Of course.
So
I think in the beginning, people are just so excited to get clients
Yeah.
and be like, I can get that for you. Even though that's not really what we do, I can do that. But I knew now, people would say the same thing. They're like, can you make me a chicken cacciatore? And I'm like, yes, but that's not what we, you know what I mean? And in my previous life, I would have said, sure.
Yeah.
And I would have become half a catering company, half a charcuterie company, and it wouldn't have worked as well. So I think staying in your own lane, but also saying no. You learn over time. Just say no. Say no to jobs. Say no to clients where it's not going to fit.
There's probably more wisdom in that than we even know. Honestly,
Right.
like that's. I mean, for anybody out there, anybody that's in sales. I mean, anybody. There's just certain customers you just don't need.
Right.
Hey, listen, they're not paying on time. As much as you want the business,
Right.
It's not good for the company. It's not good for you.
Right.
It's just anguish to just go and it's like, man, we need to get rid of that person. You know
Of
what I mean?
course.
Or XYZ, whatever the is, or don't accept the job. But okay, so how did Babe and Butcher? How did this concept, this idea? Give us the beginning stages of it.
Okay.
Have you always been into cooking? Have you always been into? Give us a little context.
Okay. I always like to cook, but if you had told me I'd been a caterer 10 years ago, I'd said you were crazy. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have said you were crazy. Did it for friends and family, had a great time with it.
Okay.
But of course, when your grandma's like, you should do this, you're like, okay, grandma, sure, because I think your family and friends are always supportive of
Yes.
whatever you're trying to do.
Yes.
But we did something for the 24 Foundation. I don't know if you know them. They're
No, what is that?
cancer navigation charity in Charlotte.
Okay.
So I just catered because I wanted to do something nice for the team leads that were helping to raise money for cancer navigation.
Okay.
And then it was when strangers were like, well, who catered? I want the catering company's number. And I was like, okay, well,
So,
maybe this is something.
That was the first.
That was the first family friend situation where I just, brought food to help, you know what I mean? And to
What
help
did you
with
make?
the charity.
Do you remember? What
Just
you brought?
some boards, yeah. Just different boards.
And what was the reaction? Was like, wow, like who?
Yeah, they thought it was beautiful. They thought it was interesting. They loved the presentation of it. And so then I was like, maybe this is something. Maybe this is more than I thought.
Your business mind started.
Right.
Like, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. And so then we. The next thing was branding. That was critical to me.
Okay.
Because of my marketing background.
course,
So I knew
okay.
if I didn't have a good logo, if I didn't have a good name that was very strong and very specific, that we would have a harder time.
When was this first event that you did? The cancer. Do you remember how long ago that was?
I think it was in 2018, like late in 2018.
So end of 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when the wheels started turning in 19 to try to figure out what we were going to do, what it was going to be called,
Okay.
That kind of stuff.
All right. So how did Babe and Butcher, give us, how did that name come about?
Right. Well, I was trying to think of things that conveyed a couple, because it's me and my other half.
Okay.
He's the numbers guy. He's, he loves spreadsheets. I hate them. Like, I'm the creative.
Yeah.
So I wanted to convey kind of the hard and softness of us in that way, because, I liked something that had alliteration. And then I knew I wanted something that was, we always use flowers on our board, so I wanted something with a flower, I wanted something with a knife. like a butcher knife to convey the, the charcuterie aspect. And then Rob loved the idea of it being like a stamp, like a circle. And I love that idea also. So it seemed to fit. People loved it. When we tried to ask people what they thought, that was always the runaway hit. And it felt right from the moment. I had 20 names. I was texting names to him, Rob, all the time. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And that one was always what we came back to.
Nice.
Yeah.
So give everybody context on charcuterie boards. Now it's become really popular. Right? Like 12, 24 months? Like, what do you think, like, have been the...
Yeah, I mean, they've grown in
emergence.
Popularity, I think, for a lot of reasons.
Okay.
I think, the idea of going home and fixing this huge meal is not always appealing. You know what I mean? I think that there is joy in doing that, but not every single night.
Yeah.
And I think people love the idea of just putting together a snack with a bunch of different things and being able to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's fairly easy to put together, fairly easy to clean up. There's a lot of appeal to it. And with the growth of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff, I think food is becoming something that it can't just be food, it should be food that's beautiful. You know what I mean? Because people want to have like a visual experience in addition to, you know what I mean? I think that's why some of the other fast food chains, they're having a harder time because some other chains are coming in like a Shake Shack or something like that where it's a cooler experience to come in and go. And the way that they present the food is cooler, and visually more exciting. And I think that's what people want more of, so I think they're having more success.
From your marketing background, what do you think, for maybe like the restaurant owners that are listening to this, how much do you think people should be thinking about presentation, look, packaging? I mean, just from your perspective, because you're right. I mean, Instagram's not going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, like, this stuff's not going anywhere. Like, So we may need to adjust and not a complete 180.
Right.
But you may need to, dial it in a little bit to make things a little more, have a presence online, make things a little bit more, photo-centric.
Right.
What do you think? 10%, 20%? I mean, how much should people take the time to actually, add? Because quality of food is probably still gonna be number one.
Number one.
All right, but there is probably a percentage now that people should be thinking about how it looks on the the presentation.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that to the restaurant owners because that's kind of my field.
Right.
Restaurant owners, that's who I talk to every single day.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, every packaging decision that we made we agonized over it. It was always a very thoughtful decision. How do we want this to look? How do we continue to reinforce our brand? Our stickers are always round because our logo's round. You know what I mean? Our packaging is similar to what our boards look like. So we are constantly reinforcing our brand over and over and over again. Do not skimp on packaging. And that doesn't mean you have to have expensive packaging. You can have a fast casual product, but you need fun packaging in some way or another. You know what I mean? Something that you don't need a James Beard plate, that looks, of course that's amazing, but if you don't have a restaurant like that, you don't have to have that, but you have to have something that is fun to interact with in one way or another. And there's so many options for packaging that there's almost no excuse, but it does cost more money.
Yep.
It does take time to source it.
Yep.
You may have to spend a little more money up front, but what people don't understand is if there's a difference between like a cool cone that's a neon color and a styrofoam plate.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And which one do you want to photograph more?
Yep.
Probably the neon cone. You know what I mean? And it can have the same stuff in it, same value, same price, same, amount of quality food, deliciousness, all that good stuff. But the packaging is critical.
Yep. Yeah, so call me. I'm just kidding. No, but it's a very good point. It's a very good point. You need to value your products, right? If it adds an extra 46 cents onto the price of the food, that's fine. Work it in, increase it. Do what you have to do to make sure it is a presentable product that you're happy with. Right. And
that money will come back.
100%.
Yes.
100%. It's the same reason why, I love this. Like, I'm sure people take pictures of this, stand in front of this.
Yep.
And there's things you can do to help market your business that costs money in the front end,
Yes.
but will pay off.
Of course.
It will.
Yes.
Like, you know, so, okay, love it. So in 18, cancer event,
Right.
you're dropping off, you know, a couple boards, people are flipping out, who's doing this? Your brain starts working.
Right.
List of names, Babe and Butcher.
Right.
Okay.
Get the LLC.
Okay, so how does it go from there? Start the actual business.
Right.
And then how does that progress into starting to get clients? Like how did that work?
We opened up an Instagram account, and I just started playing with food a lot. You know what I mean? Trying to make a couple different options. You know what I mean? Basically get my menu together,
Gotcha.
what I was going to offer, and trying to take beautiful photographs. And then place them in the right places. You know, place them on Instagram. You know, I placed them in the Girl Tribe community page just to see what the response would be to our name, to what we were offering. And that gave me a good indication we were on the right track because
Nice.
people were excited about it. They wanted to know how to order. So that told me that things were going good, you
Yeah.
know. And I think the other thing is people love the logo, they love the name. They would tell us, instead of people being like, "What do you think of the logo?" People would tell you, you know what I mean. If they love your name or they love your brand,
Yeah.
they will say, "I love your brand," or "I love your logo," or you know, they'll tell you. You don't have to tell them.
Just listen.
Just listen. Yeah. And you know, it just snowballed from there. You know, we got a commercial kitchen, and you know, I was overwhelmed doing 2 boards a day at one point. You know what I mean? And now we can do over 150 boards a day. So it's one of those
150
things.
boards a day?
I mean, not every day, but
No, but
you know,
like you can do that kind of volume?
yeah, we can do that kind of volume.
Wow.
So I mean, thinking about back then,
Yeah.
being so stressed out about having a board to deliver at 11 and a board to deliver at 5.
Yeah.
You know, it's laughable to me now, but that's how it was in the beginning. You know.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that. I just found a notebook that I would write down like my monthly sales and a weekly sales and all that from 12 years ago.
Okay.
And it's wild what we used to do sales wise in a month.
Right.
I don't know what it is now. We maybe do in 2 days.
Right.
Like it's crazy.
Yes.
And I was talking to them, like some of my staff. I'm like, can you believe these numbers? Like
Yeah.
I'm like, how did this? I don't know. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see a project or a business progress.
Yes.
You know, because it's your baby.
Yeah, it is your baby.
It really is. You know.
Yeah.
So Instagram. And just so you know, just so you know, I haven't told you this, but I have a catering company that I sell to in Huntersville
Mm-hmm.
that maybe like a year ago was like considering doing charcuterie boards, and you were the one that they loved.
Aw.
You know, so like they're not doing them, but like they were looking at them, and because you know COVID last year, a lot of their
I mean, people have to pivot.
yeah, their hospital, most of it, their hospital is kind of their business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, clinics, hospitals, drop off, stuff like that. And you were the one that
Aw.
like we were looking at, like your website, you know, Facebook, and, like they were like, dang, like you know this, like the pictures, this looks so good, like you know. So anyway, it shows that you're doing a great job,
Oh,
and
thank you.
and people are noticing. So okay, so you get it up and going.
Right.
It's a lot.
Yes.
2 boards a day. What are some things you learned that first little bit, that first 3 months, 6 months? Because now you're in a whole other industry.
Whole other industry.
You're not in
It took
marketing,
over my
speaking.
life.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Well, I had a 2-seater convertible, which was a huge mistake. Because I was thinking, well, I'll deliver a board once a week. Like I thought I would do it like when I could, but I never thought it would have
so
the
you
kind of
thought
traction.
for sure it was going to be like a little side.
Yeah, side hustle, you know, something that I would kind of, you know, when it got slow with the speaking and consulting,
You
and
can
then
do something.
the opposite happened. It was so crazy that
Was
I
it
had
like
to.
from the get?
I mean, it started small, but it just kept getting busier and busier, you know, as things went along. It was overwhelming because I was doing everything, you know. I was making the food, I was prepping the food, I was building the boards, I was delivering them, I was taking the orders, I was paying the bills. I mean, I was doing the social media. I mean,
It's a
answering
lot.
the emails. It was a lot. So the first year was very hard, very taxing. But I had to get it to a certain point where we were doing enough volume that I could hire people to help.
100%.
So it can be painful that first 6 months, that first year, to get to a point where you can need help, but you will feel it
Yeah.
when you need more help.
Yeah,
for sure.
and That's where understanding your business, having good cash flow, not siphoning too much money and taking it too early,
right.
Putting it back into the company.
Yes.
That's what trips a lot of people up.
I know, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There were months where I didn't pay myself for sure, because I was constantly doing all kinds of things to try to help the business, whether, it was buying a new kind of box or figuring out a best kind of bag or, marketing, whatever it was. I was always trying to, put it back into the business. And I think then when you get to a certain point, and then it's really important that you do take a paycheck, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they're working so hard and then they don't ever take, you know what I mean? It's like, well, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to get to that point.
Yep. So I like that. Okay. So anything else that you've learned the first 3 years about the industry, boards, or anything like that? I mean, just the business, hiring people, finding the right people, building out a team, finding a retail location. Like, what did you learn from all of that? Anything? Any?
So I think that I found that you had to, again, stay in your own lane. So I was doing all this delivering. Everyone I knew was helping me deliver, and my parents were there to help me deliver. And my mom said, you're not in the delivery business, Lindsay. And I was like, oh, I need to find a solution to this problem. You know what I mean? I need to hire drivers. I need to figure out a way to get back in the kitchen and do what I do. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
So I was getting caught up in that. You know what I mean? And so that was an important lesson. I hired someone to be my delivery driver, and she was great, and then she stayed and she was head of production, and then she was great at baking, so then she became head of production and baking, and we promoted her 4 or 5 times within a 2-year period because she was just so great. You know what I mean? So I think, sometimes you may hire someone and think that they're good at one thing and then find that they have all of this other value. So I think that's important, to be open-minded. I try to figure out what people's strengths are and put them where they want to be. You know what I mean? So if they have a creative eye, to help them more with catering, with building the boards, with marketing. And then there are people that are great at production. I mean, Matt is great at running the kitchen. He, loves bossing everybody around and figuring out the production schedule and what things should be sliced. And he's great at that. He doesn't love the creative part. He hates decorating anything. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. Yeah. But that's okay. Yeah. Now I've learned his strengths, and I try to put him into whatever he's best at, and really try to take away some of the things that they don't like or aren't as good at, because they'll be happier in their jobs, obviously. Yep. The retail space came out of COVID. We pivoted and we started doing these small boxes. We always wanted to do them, but we found that there was, a need for something that was smaller, that could be delivered, that was, no one was having events. Yep. And then I wanted to do something different that no one else was doing, because there's a lot of cheese shops, a lot of great cheese shops, but we wanted to do something else that set us apart, that was a different experience. And I think that's where this all came from. We picked Camp North End because it's super creative. There's all kinds of artists, and murals and all kinds of things happening. There's a very creative space, so I felt very inspired here all the time. And I like that it was a developing area, because I felt like we're a developing business. You know what I mean? We couldn't afford South End rent. You know what I mean? We weren't in that point. You know what I mean? We're still super young in our, how old we are and where we're going. So we had to pick a place that was also in transition and, kind of making its way and figuring it out. And I think Camp North End is creating something super special. And so we're happy to be here, and we have great neighbors and impressively creative and accomplished neighbors, and I think that's also inspiring. Let me see, what else have I learned? I think we talked about decision making. Yep.
I think one thing to add on to what you're saying, the one thing that I've learned the last few years is what you said about putting people in the right positions, and actually just assembling the right team. Because we can only do so much.
Right.
That's it. If you want to scale, if you want to do any, you're going to have to delegate, you're going to have to give people responsibilities, and just find the right people and then put them in those positions to flourish and do what they do. And there's another thing, when you find good people, don't let them go.
Right.
You got to, obviously, let them do whatever they want to do. If they have any opportunities, great, awesome, do you. But if you can help it.
Yeah, of course.
You just got to keep good people.
No, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And I think, you have to figure out the kind of culture that you want to have, the kind of team that you want to have. We're a super collaborative environment. You know what I mean? It's
Love
not
that.
what I say goes and that's it. I want to hear what they think. I want their idea. They have sometimes way better ideas than me, which is great.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm also okay with letting them have some more responsibility, like you said, in certain areas. And you cannot be a one-man band and grow. You can't.
Yeah.
You're going to suffer. Your business will suffer. You won't make the kind of money you want to make if you don't start expanding. And I think that's also an issue that people make. They have a hard time hiring anyone, even part-time, because they worry about it taking money out of their pocket. But then they just stay a solopreneur, which for some people it works perfectly.
Sure.
But if you want to get to another level, you have to, like you said, delegate, hire people, get people in to help. And everybody that works for me does a lot of other things way better than I do. So that's the other thing. If I'm terrible at something, I want to hire someone to do that, because I know, like I said earlier, knowing my weaknesses, do this. You do it way better than I could. Yeah. You're really talented at it. I'm good at this. I'm good at macro, detail-oriented stuff. The rest of the staff's so great. They know specific. They know all the specifics. I am all high level. How are we going to grow? What's our next step? Collaborations, all that kind of stuff. So I try to really have them do that stuff because they're great at it. And the other thing that I would say is that I think that the company has grown because we've worked with other small businesses and helped each other, in a lot of ways. We try to refer as many people as we can. We try to do, we did something with a batch maker with her birthday cake and our macaroons for a birthday box.
Cool.
We work with, Confetti Castle and Proper Flower and other event vendors because we want to help each other. We want, we were all kind of coming up at the same time and wanted to help each other grow. And so we were constantly trying to figure out ways where we could support each other. So I feel like find some other businesses. They don't even have to do doing what you're doing, and figure out how you can work together, how you can help each other. And then the other thing that I think is super important is from the start, is to give back, is to find ways to give back in all kinds of ways. You know what I mean? Whether it's donations, whether it's volunteering. I think that's a big part, because Charlotte's been really good to us. So a big part of our company ethos is to try to figure out constantly what can we do for Charlotte, because Charlotte's done a lot for us.
Sure. I love that. And that was really good. And gosh, I was going to say something and it left my mind. But yes, love that. Good stuff. So here's a fun question, and we'll wrap up. What is your favorite charcuterie board?
Oh, boy.
What do you enjoy making, or what do you enjoy eating yourself? What are some of Babe and Butcher Lindsay's favorites when it comes to anything?
Okay.
Any of your favorites?
I love all the fun ones, the candies and that kind of stuff, but I love the classic meat and cheese. I'm Italian, so I love all of that stuff. Never met a cheese I didn't like, never met a meat I didn't like. And I think part of the fun is constantly trying to find new cheeses, make new cheeses, find new products that I think would be interesting. And so that's my favorite one to make, probably my favorite one to eat too.
What is the coolest one you've made? Or the off the wall, most, anything random that somebody asked you to do?
We did a a huge Candyland grazing table. That was different and fun for sure.
So any kind of candy? What was on it?
Yeah, we try to make it look like Candyland. So it was, super colorful.
Like the game Candyland.
Yeah, the game Candyland.
Yeah, so for all you guys that are under 30, you probably have
probably
no
have
idea what Candyland is. We remember because we used to play.
We remember, yeah, back in the day. So that was probably one of my favorites for
candy.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Just start. Keep going. Just keep going. Ask questions. Try to reach out to as many people and take their advice.
That's good.
Take their advice. Really listen. And if multiple people are telling you the same thing, it probably means you need to listen to them. And even though it's hard, and you're like, you may, you don't have to listen to everybody.
Yeah.
But if you hear the same thing over and over again, maybe you should look at this, or maybe you should do that.
Yeah.
That's a sign that people see things that you can't. And so it's good to get out of your own way for sure.
Yeah. What I was gonna say, it came back to me. But I want to say I either read it or listened to this on a podcast, but somebody said that they saw this very successful, maybe like billionaire that was like, seemed kind of dumb, like was like, wow, how is this guy like as successful as he is? And somebody asked him, I was like, hey, listen, man, like no disrespect, but like how did you make it? Like how did you? And he's like, it's very simple. I just hire smarter people than me. And I was like, what? Like, what a profound statement. He's like, I just hire what I'm not good at.
Right.
And so you were talking about like, not details, which is that is totally me. Like I'm just, we have a secretary, Sally, that we hired on January will be 6 years ago, and she changed the game for us.
Right.
Like we were just like gung ho, like hundreds of customers. Okay, just go. And like she's like, hold on, like we got to dial in the books.
Right.
We got to have like P&L statements. We got to have like, and I was like, what? Like,
yeah, I know.
And so anyway, it's just, to this day, you got to put the right people in,
yes.
in the company to help you, because if you don't, it's going to limit your growth. It'll stunt your growth. You will plateau and max out at some point.
Yep, for sure.
Lindsay, thank you.
Happy Sally.
Thank you.
Came into your life.
Yes, yes. So episode 17, season 2, Babe and Butcher. If you have not followed, what platforms are you on?
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Follow them, look for them. If you're in the Charlotte or suburbs and you have an event, a party, a get-together, a catering, anything and you want some boards, call up here. Do you have a menu online, or how do they just call up here?
You can call up, or you can order online. We deliver, you can pick up.
Plenty of options.
Yep.
Come visit them. Absolutely amazing ownership and business. And appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.
The restaurants you love, the food you crave, and the people that make it all happen. We tell their stories on the Paper Trails podcast with Albemarle Paper Supply.